I want you to think about the last time you scrolled through your feed and felt behind. Maybe it was someone's kitchen renovation, a business class seat, a Tesla in the driveway of a house that looked like it belonged in a magazine, a vacation in Santorini, a watch, a bag, a lifestyle that made you quietly wonder what you were doing wrong. Now, I want you to consider something uncomfortable. What if the people making you feel broke are actually the ones who are broke? And what if the people who are genuinely, quietly, permanently building wealth, the ones who will retire early, the ones who will never panic about a layoff, the ones whose kids will inherit something real, what if those people are almost completely invisible on your feed? Here's what the research actually shows. A 2024 Empower study found that 73% of actual millionaires, people with verified seven-figure net worths, describe their lifestyle as modest or unremarkable. They don't post the flex because the flex is not the point. The point is the number in the account, the number nobody can see. Meanwhile, a separate analysis found that the top categories of aspirational content posted on social media, luxury travel, premium vehicles, home renovations, designer goods, correlate most strongly not with high net worth, but with high consumer debt. The people performing wealth online are often financing the performance. The people actually building wealth are almost never on that stage. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what those quietly rich people are not posting, and more importantly, what that tells you about how they're actually living and why it's working. This is not a video about hating on people who post nice things. Post whatever you want, that's your life. This is a video about a pattern I've seen repeated across the research on actual wealth accumulation, across the stories of people who built real financial security, and across the quiet, undramatic, completely unglamorous habits of people who will retire comfortable while everyone else is still performing. The pattern is this. Real wealth is invisible by design, not because wealthy people are hiding something, but because the behaviors that build wealth are genuinely not photogenic. They don't make good content. They don't generate likes. They don't make your peers feel a way. They just work. Here are the 10 things people who are quietly rich never post, and what each one reveals about the way they think about money. You've never seen a quietly rich person post a screenshot of their brokerage account at $340,000. You've never seen them caption a photo, "Just hit 500K in index funds, feeling blessed." But you've seen people post crypto gains. You've seen people screenshot a single stock that ran up 40% in a week. You've seen people share their portfolio when it looks impressive. Here's the difference. The person posting the crypto screenshot usually has $4,000 in a volatile position and $200 in a checking account. The gain feels monumental because the baseline is so low. The quietly rich person has $340,000 spread across a 401k, a Roth IRA, and a taxable brokerage account in low-cost index funds. The balance goes up and down with the market. There's nothing exciting to screenshot. There's no single moment of drama to share. It just grows, slowly, quietly, permanently. The Federal Reserve's 2024 Survey of Consumer Finances found that the median net worth of American families is approximately $192,700, but the mean, the average pulled upward by the wealthy, is $1.06 million. The gap between those two numbers tells you everything. Wealth is not spread evenly. It is concentrated in people who are almost never talking about it. The wealthy know something that the performative investor doesn't. Showing your gains invites scrutiny, comparison, and the temptation to keep taking risks to maintain the story. Keeping your gains private lets you be boring, and boring in investing is the highest compliment. Warren Buffett has said repeatedly that his favorite holding period is forever. Forever makes good content. It makes millionaires. The quietly rich don't post their balances because the balance is not the performance. The balance is the point. Nobody is posting a photo of their 2017 Toyota Camry with 94,000 miles and captioning it, "This is how I built my net worth." But they should, because that is almost exactly what the data shows about how actual millionaires move. The Millionaire Next Door, the most comprehensive study ever done on American millionaires, found that the most common vehicle driven by a millionaire is not a BMW, not a Mercedes, not a Tesla. It's a Ford F-150, a pickup truck, usually a few years old, usually bought used, or kept well past the point where most people would have traded it in. A 2023 analysis from Experian found that the average new car payment in America hit $735 a month. That's $8,820 a year, just in the payment, before insurance, gas, registration, and maintenance on a vehicle that depreciates the moment it leaves the lot. A person who drives a paid-off used car and invests that $735 monthly payment instead of having a car payment, and 8% over 20 years accumulates approximately $436,000. $436,000 from refusing to have a car payment. The quietly rich person knows this math. They're not driving the old car because they can't afford the new one. They're driving the old car because they did the math. The new car costs them their future. The old car gets them there just the same. You won't see this on their feed because a 2017 Camry doesn't perform. It just saves them nearly $500,000. Here's a post you've seen 100 times. A couple standing in front of a house, keys in hand, huge smiles. We did it. We're homeowners. And sometimes that's a genuinely great financial decision. Sometimes it's the beginning of a wealth-destroying trap dressed up as an achievement. The quietly rich are very specific about this. They do not automatically buy the most house they can qualify for. They do not treat home ownership as a financial identity milestone. They run the numbers first. They ask whether buying actually beats renting in their specific market at their specific time, and sometimes the honest answer is no. A 2024 analysis from the National Association of Realtors found that in 26 of the 50 largest MTOs, renting and investing the difference is mathematically superior to buying, particularly for people who might move within 5 to 7 years. The quietly rich person in San Francisco might rent a modest apartment for $2,400 a month, while their colleague buys a condo with a $4,100 mortgage. The quietly rich person invests the $1,700 monthly difference. Over 10 years, at 8% returns, that's approximately $311,000. Their colleague has home equity maybe, if the market cooperates. They have $311,000 in liquid investments regardless. The quietly rich person doesn't post this because I'm renting strategically and investing the difference doesn't perform on social media the way a house key post does, but the account balance performs exactly the way it should. The quietly rich do not haul, they do not unbox, they do not post their new wardrobe from a seasonal shopping trip. This isn't because they're joyless minimalists who wear the same gray t-shirt every day. It's because they've internalized something that the consumer culture doesn't want you to know. Every dollar spent on something you don't genuinely need is a dollar working against you instead of for you. And the math of that trade-off is so stark that once you see it clearly, the haul video stops looking aspirational. It starts looking like a very expensive mistake filmed for strangers. The average American spends approximately $18,000 per year on non-essential purchases, according to Empower's 2024 data. Clothing, home goods, gadgets, subscriptions, impulse items. $18,000 a year invested instead at 8% over 25 years is $1.4 million. The quietly rich person is not depriving themselves. They have nice things. They just buy them intentionally, use them completely, and don't perform the acquisition for an audience. They've also figured out something that the consumer culture doesn't want you to know. The pleasure of a purchase peaks before you own it and immediately begins declining the moment the purchase is complete. The research on this is overwhelming. Anticipation feels better than possession. The quietly rich person feel this too. They just don't act on it with a credit card. Nobody posts their budget, but the quietly rich person has one, a detailed, updated, intentional one, and they look at it every single month without exception. This sounds ordinary. It is not ordinary. A 2024 National Foundation for Credit Counseling survey found that only 41% of Americans maintain a detailed monthly budget. Among people with a net worth above $500,000, that number climbs to over 79%. Budgeting correlates with wealth at every income level, not because the budget itself creates money, but because the budget creates awareness, and awareness kills the financial leaks that drain most people's accounts invisibly. The quietly rich person knows exactly how much they spent on food last month. They know their fixed costs to the dollar. They know their savings rate. They know when something is drifting. They correct it before it compounds into a problem. The person with no budget finds out they overspent when the account runs low. By then, the damage is done for the 12th consecutive month. The budget is not glamorous. It is also the single most common behavior among people who successfully build wealth. The correlation is not a coincidence. You've seen the posts. Day 47 of my side hustle journey. Made $312 this month dropshipping. Building my brand. Watch this space. Multiple income streams loading. The quietly rich are almost never posting this. Not because they don't have multiple income streams, many do, but because their extra income streams are quiet, boring, and not built for an audience. Dividend income from index, rental income from a property they've owned for 11 years. A skill they monetize occasionally without branding it as a hustle. The performative side hustle culture has a specific problem. It confuses activity with progress. Posting about building wealth is not the same as building wealth. In many cases, it's the opposite. The time spent creating content about the hustle is time not spent on the actual work that generates returns. The quietly rich person put $500 a month into dividend-producing index funds starting at age 27. By 45, those funds generate $1,100 a month in passive income. They never made a video about it. They never had a journey. They just set up an automatic transfer and let time do the work. The hustle content creator has 14,000 followers and $8,400 in the account. The boring investor has no followers and $340,000. Wealth doesn't need an audience. That's literally the point. The quietly rich person just negotiated their car insurance down $47 a month. They're not going to post about it. They just found a better rate on their high-yield savings account. Silent. They bought next year's holiday gifts in the post-holiday sale at 60% off. Not a word. They packed their lunch for the 180th consecutive workday and redirected the $15 difference to their Roth IRA. 0 posts. This is not humility for its own sake. This is a fundamental feature of how the quietly rich relationship with money works. They don't need external validation for financial decisions. The account balance is the validation. The compounding curve is the applause. They're not performing their money habits for anyone because the performance would be beside the point. The frugal win is only satisfying if you understand what it compounds into. $47 a month in insurance savings invested for 25 years at 8% is $43,000. The lunch habit, $15 a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, invested over 30 years at 8% is $1.1 million. The quietly rich person knows these numbers. The post would just be noise. Nobody posts, just paid my credit card in full for the 84th consecutive month. It's not content, but the quietly rich person does exactly that every single month, without exception. According to Federal Reserve data, the average credit card interest rate in early 2026 sits at approximately 22.8%. The average American household carrying a balance pays over $1,000 a year in interest alone. That $1,000 invested instead over 25 years at 8% is $87,000. The quietly rich person treats credit cards as a tool, not a lifeline. They use the card for the points, the purchase protection, the convenience. They pay it completely on the due date every month. The credit card company earns nothing from them. They are the customer the credit card industry does not want, the one using the system instead of being used by it. This habit requires no income above what you currently earn. It requires only that spending never exceed what is already in the account. That constraint alone separates wealth builders from wealth performers at every income level. The quietly rich person just finished a 400-page book on tax-advantaged investment strategies. They're not posting about it. They just spent 90 minutes on a Sunday understanding how Roth conversion ladders work. No story. They read the annual report of every fund in their portfolio. not content. The consumption of financial education among actual wealth builders is relentless and completely invisible because learning isn't the point. Implementation is the point, and implementation shows up in the account balance, not the feed. A 2023 Fidelity study found that investors who actively educate themselves about personal finance accumulate on average 47% more wealth by retirement age than those who delegate all decisions without understanding them. 47% more wealth from reading, from understanding what your money is doing and why. The quietly rich are always learning. They're just not performing the learning, they're using it. The most powerful thing the quietly rich person never posts is when they started. They started at 23, before they had a nice salary, before they had it figured out, before any of it felt meaningful or even noticeable. They put $200 a month in a Roth IRA at 23 when $200 felt enormous and the account felt pointless, and the balance after 6 months was $1,247, and that felt like nothing. They kept going anyway. $200 a month at 23, invested at 8%, compounding to age 65, is approximately $702,000. The person who waited until 35 to start, still $200 a month, still 8%, but 12 fewer years of compounding, arrives at 65 with approximately $298,000. The 12-year head start is worth $404,000 from $200 a month, from starting when it felt pointless. The quietly rich person never posts, started investing at 23, here's what that looks like at 45, because by 45, the number is so large it would seem like bragging, but it's not bragging, it's math, and the math rewards starting early more than it rewards starting big. The most expensive financial decision most people make is waiting until they feel ready. Ready is not a number. Ready is not an income level. Ready is a feeling that never arrives on its own. The quietly rich started before they felt ready. They just didn't post about it. Go back to that scroll for a moment. The kitchen renovation, the business class seat, the Tesla, the Santorini vacation. You don't know what any of those people's account balances look like. You don't know their net worth. You don't know whether the renovation went on a home equity line they can barely service, or whether the business class ticket was a points redemption from a card they've never paid interest on. You only know what they chose to show you, and what people choose to show you is almost never the thing that actually matters. The quietly rich person in your life, and there is one, you just don't know it, is driving a car you wouldn't look at twice, living in a house that doesn't make people stop and stare, wearing clothes that don't signal anything to anyone, packing lunch, paying the credit card, running the 24-hour rule on every purchase over $50, watching the balance grow slowly, then faster, then in a way that starts to feel unreal. They're not on the feed performing it. They're in the account living it. The question is never, how do I look like I'm building wealth? The question is always, how do I actually build it? The 10 things I just showed you aren't a list of things to avoid posting. They're a list of behaviors to adopt. The not posting is just the side effect of not needing anyone else to validate what the account already confirms. Start the investment account. Pay the card in full. Drive the car until it stops. Learn the thing nobody around you is learning. Start before you feel ready. The feed will never show you who's actually winning, but the math always does. If this video helped you see your money differently, I want you to do one thing before you close this tab. Not subscribe, not like. One financial thing. Open your investment account, or open one if you don't have one yet, and set up one automatic transfer, even $50, even $25. The amount is not the point. The system is the point. The quietly rich person didn't start big. They started automatic.